The floor.
Great, thank you. I know that there are drinks after me, so it's really tough, and I'm the last talk of the day, but we'll get there together. And also, I have a bunch of free t-shirts, so if you listen and you ask good questions, not bad questions, good questions, I'll hook you up with the t-shirt, and then you can have some drinks. How about that? Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay. So, put your hand up if you are a Shopify expert, agency, freelancer. Okay, pretty good. And keep your hand up if you pretty much always collect, your referral from Shopify on the clients you refer over to them. Pretty much always, right? So about the same people. And put your hand up if you collect commission from apps. If you collect any revenue share from apps, like 60% of the time. Okay, pretty good. So we're going to talk about how to really sustainably do this and how to build partnerships with apps, or if you are an app, how to build partnerships with agencies in a sustainable way, put some process behind it, and make sure that we're kicking ass, okay? I'm going to start with a love story, though, because who doesn't love a good love story, right? My name is Steve Deckert. I'm a co-founder of Smile.io. We do rewards programs. So we do referral programs, we do loyalty programs, VIP programs. We're all about making your customers smile. That's like the cheesy bit. We used to be called Sweet Tooth. You might have known us as Sweet Tooth before. I've been doing e-commerce since about 2007. I started a toner cartridge site where I was selling laser printer toner cartridges, which is so boring. And then I also was involved in an agency too, and the name of that agency was Web Development Canada. Also so boring. So I did those really boring things, and then I joined Sweet Tooth, which is now Smile.io, and that's not boring, it's really fun. I kind of swung from one pendulum to the other. And in my time working with Smile, and also as an agency, I've probably been involved in about 500 deals between an agency and us as an app. That's 500 merchants that we've signed up, and I've learned a thing or two about what makes an agency work really well with apps and how we work really well with agencies. But I promised you guys a love story. So let's start with the love story. This is a love story about how Smile loves Growth Spark. And if you guys remember Ross from Growth Spark, he talked earlier, and it just plucked my heartstrings. I'm telling you, the guy's amazing. In January 2015, Ross did this amazing thing. It was incredible. He called us. He picked up the phone and he called Sweet Tooth, which is now Smile.io. And he said, I want to learn about your product. I want to learn about your partner program. I want to learn about what you guys do because I've had clients who are looking for this kind of a service. And it was just amazing. It touched my heart. And then a couple months later, in May of 2015, Ross did another amazing thing that just, I almost cried. Ross sent me an email, and he said that, I think I have a client for you. I think they might be a good fit. Can you just check this out for me? He had already learned about the product. He had already learned about the partner program, but he needed to vet it before he just introduced us to the client, and that was amazing. That client was BottleKeeper, which is a Shopify Plus client. They're awesome. We love them. Thank you, Ross, by the way. It's a little bit late. It's like 2 years too late, but thank you. And this was a really successful project. We kicked ass on this one, not gonna lie. It was amazing. The client was super happy. You got to learn a lot about our platform, and it was just a really great project. We actually were featured on the Shopify Plus blog in fall of 2016. They did a case study on this. We did a case study together, and we got a lot of press around it, and it was really awesome to see. And I mean, that's all in between the beginning of 2015 and fall of 2016. That's one client in quite a long period of time. But we were investing a lot in that relationship, and the results kind of came afterwards. This is what we've done so far in 2017 with Growth Spark. You've referred 6 clients to us so far, which is awesome, and we've referred 3 migrations or big projects back to you. You're winning right now in terms of numbers, but we'll catch up. And it just shows you how if you can set up a successful partnership and take the time to really work on that partnership, because it took us 2 years to get to this point. You can be super successful, and you can accelerate the business that you can do together, right? We went from doing 1 client in 2 years to now we have 9 potential clients together in not even this year being finished. So it's amazing. So again, we love GrowthSpark. Round of applause for our heart, GrowthSpark. And this could be you, right? I don't mean that this could be you with Smile. I mean, this could be your agency. This could be your app, right? There's no reason why you can't be doing this with all of your clients or with all of the agencies that you work with if you're an app. It's actually a really easy thing to do repeatedly. You just need to invest in it, and that's the thing that I'm not seeing people doing. So I'm going to go through how we can actually get that investment. But first, why? Why should you even do this? There's a few really good reasons. One, you can expand what you're currently capable of doing. I don't think Ross was doing a ton of big referral and rewards programs before this first client, but now he's very comfortable with it. His agency's really comfortable with it, and I'm sure you're really comfortable with the amount that you can bill your clients for doing these kind of projects. So this is especially important if you're a freelancer or you're an expert or you're just getting started, because the projects that you've worked with are kind of limited. They're small in scope. And this is a really safe way for you to test the waters of different types of projects by bringing in an app or a partner. You see this all the time, right? And Kurt talked about this as well, where productizing a service. You can totally do that with your app partners. And I see this all the time. I've seen some of our partners mark up services and products that we're offering, taking the same thing, and marking it up by 20 times. And that's totally cool with me. I'm happy to be a part of that value chain with them. So this is a really good way for you to expand what you're currently capable of doing and billing for, more importantly, without really needing to invest in the people behind that. We're like we're an outsourced arm of your agency, basically. There's also credibility too, right? So you can have these partner badges if you want. That helps if you're young. If you're a young agency and you don't really have that credibility out there, this is a really great way to kind of put some other names behind your brand as well. So it's really important if you're young as an agency. You also get leads. Who doesn't like leads? Leads are great. We give you guys leads, and also just the marketing that we can do together. It's really great for leads. There's also the financial compensation, which is like usually revenue share. Most apps are going to be giving a certain percentage of revenue if they're subscription, or a one-time kickback to you. So financially, this is really great for your business. You can build those services around it. And this is the most important thing to me, is that these young agencies, and I know this because I was at an agency once that started and then actually went bankrupt. You can transition from a project-based agency to a retainer-based agency, or at least transition some of your funds towards that, where you have this recurring revenue coming in, right? And that's kind of all why we love Shopify's partner program, is because we can get clients signed up on Shopify, and we can have that recurring income coming in, and we're a little bit more sustainable as a business. So this is a great way for you to move from project-based to retainer-based work, because you can have other things that you can offer on top of that initial project that the client came to you for, right? You can take that relationship a step forwards by proactively suggesting different things that they can do, and those different things that they can do are different apps and services that you can build on top of. So if you decide that this is something you want to do, this is how you should set your agency up. Don't just go out and start emailing all of the apps and then signing up for all their partner program. You actually need to set your agency up before you can even do this kind of stuff. You need to define your stack before you create it. And what that means is that you need to put some sort of framework or process behind how you are finding partners and how you're classifying partners and how you're going to be able to recommend partners to your clients before you go out and seek partners to add into that stack, right? One way you could do it is just by industry, right? I see this all the time. Different industries have different requirements. Someone in fashion, they might want lifecycle email and a way for their customers to send in photos and a shoppable Instagram and a referral program. That's a very different client, and there's very different requirements than someone who's in electronics, for example, right? And so the stack of apps and services that you'd build around a fashion client are very different than the ones that you would build for an electronics client. So this is one way that you can do it. Another way you can do it, if you want, is based on, customer life cycle. If you want to, define your stack, if you say that, hey, you know what, as an agency, we are really focusing on the first 3 steps or first 2 steps of this life cycle, and then build your stack around that. Or do you want to be able to help a customer go all the way from a visitor to a brand advocate? I know, Ross, you have a different way of looking at this kind of life cycle where there's like conversion points and stuff along the way. So it doesn't matter how you define your stack. It's just important that you do it. How do you want to kind of categorize the apps and services that you offer? And then this is the one thing that a lot of people aren't doing, is dedicating a person to partnerships who's going to be managing the knowledge and the relationships with all of the apps and services that are out there. And you need to make sure that they have bandwidth, because I see this all the time where a lot of people take that first step. They have someone who is now the go-to apps person, and then that person has no time at all. And they put a full load of work on that person's plate, and then guess what? We try to email that person, and they don't get back to us because they're so busy, and I totally understand that. This kind of stuff goes to the side if you keep giving people other projects to work on. So the second point, if you aren't going to make sure that someone in your agency, if it might be you, is going to be dedicating time to partnerships, you need to make sure that you cut out some of your schedule so that they can have bandwidth to actually manage those partnerships. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time, and you shouldn't do this. You really can't see this that well, but it says knowledge sharing trumps tribal knowledge. And I know that we talked a little bit earlier in the keynote about how we need to be sharing knowledge in our agency or in our companies. One of the biggest mistakes that I often see with a lot of agencies is that the go-to person for, let's say, email marketing is just the person who worked on it last, or the person who's worked on it the most, and then that kind of builds up over time as you get known to be the person who knows, let's say, Klaviyo, right? That's not a great way. That's called tribal knowledge. That's where you have different people that are responsible for knowing different things, and it's informally defined. And it is a terrible way for you to share knowledge within your organization, and it often leads to really big issues when you start to scale your business, especially. So you need to have some sort of way of sharing knowledge in the organization, especially around the apps and the partners that you recommend and what those apps can do. The other reason why this is important is time. You need to have, you don't want to have your existing employees or your project managers going out and having to scope out what every single app can do and going through all of their features. They don't have time for that. You need to kind of boil it down into a condensed version of, this is our go-to app for this and this and this. Some ways that you can do that, if it's like 2006, you could make a wiki. You could use Confluence if you're a masochist and you like Atlassian products. I like Google Drive. Google Drive is awesome. You can just create a folder for each of your partners, and then guess what? Share them on that folder. And guess what? You won't have to maintain anything because we'll just keep throwing shit in there and making sure that it's useful for you. And then my favorite is actually Slack. And this has started happening over the past year or so, where we have either agencies joining our Slack, or we're more than happy to join a channel in your Slack as well. And you can just, don't even need to be an expert. You can just have a channel where if a project manager needs an answer from an app or from a partner, they can just ask us. And we're totally happy to provide that and help out with that. We want to make sure that our relationships with you guys are strong. We know that knowledge is really hard to share in an organization, especially if we're going to a one-point person who then has to share it outwards. So we know that it's tough, and we're here to help. If you have all of this stuff set up, here's how you can start a partnership. So first you need to find all the players. Again, making sure that you know what your stack is and how you're going to define that stack. Find all the players, find all of the apps that are out there, Really easy way to do this, ask your clients. Just ask your clients what apps they love. That's a great place to start. Talk to other agencies. There's a few of them here about what apps they like and what they'll recommend. And then, when you're kind of going through that list, there's a few things that you can do as like a quick spot check. Finding out who works there is a really good way to tell if this might be a shady business or not. Like, if you can't find out who's working there on LinkedIn or if they don't have like an About Us page, it's a warning signal. It's a warning signal, like they don't really want to show who's working at this place. If I call them, will they pick up? Like, don't. That's not a hypothetical question. Call them and see if they pick up. That's important for the relationship, right? You need to be able to get in touch with people. Has anyone worked with them in the past and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to fly through this. And then the fun part, you get to reach out and then you get to place that phone call like Ross did, and then you get to make our hearts beat fast. It's amazing. During the discovery process, there's two things that you really need to do. You need to learn about the product and you need to learn about the partner program. There are usually partner programs associated with most apps that are out there that are relatively established, so they'll have some sort of information on how they want to engage with agencies like you. Some of them may not, it may be a little bit less formally defined, but that's okay too. You can structure that conversation when you're talking to the app. Learning about the product, you can do all the demo stuff. That's really important. You need to know how the demo works. What's really important is learning who they think their ideal client is. You don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time, especially. Finding out who their ideal client is and how they pitch their solution so that you can do that kind of on their behalf is really important. And if there's one thing that you're going to do is find the differences between an app and their competitors. Every single app is going to tell you that they're the best at a lot of things. And they're going to say that they're really great at this and this and this. And their competitors are going to say that they're really great at this and this and this too. A really useful way for you to use your time is to find out the differences between the perceived differences between an app and its competitors, and that will really help you figure out when to recommend who. So like a really good example is one of the sponsors of this conference is Swell Rewards. They're a competitor of ours, but they do things better than us in some situations, and they're a better fit for some clients than us. And knowing that, getting to that solution faster and making sure that we have the right client going to the right app is better for everyone involved. So make sure that you see the differences between the apps. And then learn about the partnership program. So, who are you going to be talking to on a regular basis? Who are you going to get support from on a regular basis? Like all the stuff that you need to know. Like it's kind of like when you're defining your relationship with a client, you basically need to do that with the app as well. The second point here, what revenue share you'll receive for what kind of clients, get that formally defined. If it's not in writing or something like that, it's important to have that because there are certain conditions that a lot of apps will have. They'll say, okay, it needs to be an enterprise client, or it needs to be of this size, or this. You need to refer it within this window of time. So that's really important for you to know. It can be a lot to navigate, but it's good for you to know. And also, what referrals you'll receive back and when. The revenue share thing is really awesome, and you guys will make money on that, and then you can spend that money on beer or whatever you want. But this is actually the most valuable part of a partnership, in my opinion, is the referrals that we send back to you. We can give you, 20% revenue share, or whatever the conditions of that partnership are. But if we give you like a $30,000 build, that's more than any revenue share can ever really compete with. So the referrals that we'll give back to you are probably the biggest thing for you to define. Okay, so now that you know everything about the product and the partner program and everything, what do you do when you think you have that first client and your heart's beating and you get to send an email like Ross did? First, confirm fit, right? So send that email that Ross sent saying, hey, this is the client. You don't even need to say who the client actually is. Just describe the client and say, I think they might be a good fit. What do you think? And we will happily walk through that with you. And this is really good, especially on the first client. You need to do this on the first client. Otherwise, you might end up referring a client that's not a good fit because you're not as familiar with the platform or the product yet. It makes you look bad. It's bad for the client. And also, we want to have clients that are really good fit for us, especially for SaaS, right? Because if they cancel, we're going from a monthly subscription to someone, and it's like a lot of front-loaded costs, to someone who's like canceling and it's not a good fit, and then that relationship with you is kind of spoiled too, right? So making sure that first client comes in really cleanly is extremely important. Just send an email. Log the lead. There's a couple ways you can do that. Smaller apps may not have a way to do this, so you just need to like say, hey, this is the client that I have. One way you can do it is, this is Bold. They have like a way for you to register a lead in a form. Basically, a lot of apps will have this method. Some of them are just email. Just send them an email, logging the lead, or call someone. There's different ways to do that. Figure that out during the partner process, but make sure you do this early. I can't tell you how many times we've had a partner mention to us, oh, by the way, I mentioned a client to you, like 4 months after they've already signed up for our services. And that puts us in a different situation. But so log the lead as soon as you can, really important. Attend the sales call. I'm surprised by how many agencies don't come to, especially with their first client, they don't come to the first sales call. And it's like, don't you guys want to see how we pitch our product and maybe see us do a good job? Go to the first sales call. Also, request an onboarding and configuration call. So if things go well, maybe like we'd be happy to show you how to set things up, how we install things, right? Going through that onboarding process. And this is really important for you to learn and for you to be able to pitch later on. But also, if you want to take over these services, if you want to configure our apps for your clients and charge for that, you need to know this stuff. And we are more than happy to teach you this stuff so that you can do it as well. Take notes. This is one of those things that just like, it goes back to the tribal knowledge. Make sure you're taking notes and plan for a case study. So this is kind of like setting yourself up for success. Once you have that first client, you should be planning for them to be doing a case study with whatever app partner it is that you're working with. Because this is a great way to springboard from one client that you have with this app partner to getting, like Ross receiving like 3 referrals from us. Because a lot of those referrals are based on marketing that we're doing, and us getting exposure in the community, getting on the Shopify Plus blog. So you need to have a case study or some sort of client showcase in order to get that. So the first client, make sure you selectively choose them to be someone who's good for a case study, and then that will set you up for success later. After your first happy client, there's all of these things that you get to do, and that list is purposefully long. It was supposed to be cut off a little bit earlier. But just do all of the marketing things that you should be doing. Do a case study, do mutual blog posts, do email marketing. You could even do some ad campaigns on Facebook or Google to each other's audiences. Do press, like all of that kind of stuff is a great way for you to drum up some business, show some success. And this is just one client that we're getting as well. Also, a really great thing to do after you have your first client is just to set up a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or quarterly or however often you want call. Just set up a quick call that happens at whatever frequency you think, and that's a great way to stay in touch, and we will update you on the clients. We'll make sure that you're happy, make sure the client's happy, and then talk about potential good fits for the next clients that we have. So I know that was a lot. I know that there are drinks on the other side of this. But I wanted to leave you guys with kind of some inspiration as to why you should really be investing in these kind of partnerships. This is a quote from Harley Finkelstein. I love it. It's the greatest companies have the greatest ecosystems. And Harley, the CEO of Shopify, you might think he's talking about Shopify here, but it's so applicable to all of us. As an app, like so much of our success depends on having a great ecosystem of Shopify and agencies and themes that we work with. And the same is true for your agency too. So make sure that the ecosystems that you're creating for your agency are great, and then you'll have a great agency too. That's it. Thank you.